Hey everybody, it's the History Teacher. This episode is part 2 of a simplified explanation of the amendments to the U.S. Constitution. There are 27 in total, the first 10 of which are referred to as the Bill of Rights. This time we'll be looking at the 14th through the 27th Amendments. The 14th Amendment extended citizenship to those who had been freed from slavery by the Civil War. It also canceled the debt owed by the Confederate States of America and prohibited leaders of the Confederacy from holding public office. The 14th Amendment also says that states who deny voting rights to qualified people will be punished by having their representation in Congress reduced. Finally, this amendment provides that Americans are both citizens of the United States as well as citizens of the state in which they live. The 15th Amendment grants the vote to African American men. The 16th Amendment authorizes the government to collect an income tax. The 17th Amendment provides for the direct election of U.S. senators, meaning regular voters elect senators. Before this, senators were appointed by state legislatures. The 18th Amendment prohibited the manufacture, sale, and use of alcoholic beverages. This was the amendment on which Prohibition was based. The 19th Amendment grants women the right to vote. The 20th Amendment changed the presidential inauguration date from March 4th to January 20th. It also eliminated the lame duck session of Congress, that is, the session of Congress that convened between the November election and the start of the newly elected Congress just 2 months later. The 21st Amendment repealed the 18th Amendment, that is, the Prohibition Amendment, and doing so ended Prohibition. The 22nd Amendment limits a president to 2 terms. This was ratified in response to Franklin Roosevelt being elected 4 times and serving as president for 12 years between 1933 and 1945. The 23rd Amendment grants electoral college votes to Washington, D.C. so that residents there could have a voice in the presidential election. The 24th Amendment prohibits poll taxes. Poll taxes were basically fees that someone would be required to pay in order to vote. Poll taxes were commonly used in southern states to prevent black people from voting because they often couldn't afford the poll tax. The 25th Amendment defines presidential succession and the process for determining if a president is physically or mentally unfit to fulfill his or her duties. That is, the 25th Amendment addresses what happens and who steps in if a president or vice president or both die in office or are permanently incapacitated. The 26th Amendment grants the right to vote to 18-year-olds. This was in response to the Vietnam War, in which 18-year-olds were old enough to be drafted into the military and to be killed in war, but in some states were too young to vote and therefore to influence government policy. Finally, the 27th Amendment says that if Congress adjusts its pay, which is to say gives itself a pay raise, then that adjustment won't take effect until after the next congressional election. So if voters are annoyed at the pay raise, then they have a chance to elect new members of Congress who would then cancel it. All right, so that's the 14th through the 27th Amendments. Please see Part 1 for a review of the 1st through the 13th Amendments. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.